as the D&D OGL situation comes to a head, as companies rise up to say, to speak up against Wizards of the Coast, saying what they're doing is wrong, and then we should have an open gaming license. One in particular is standing out more than the rest, and it's Paizo, and they're going to be releasing a really cool thing called the Open RPG Content License, I think, the Oracle. Now here's the thing. Listen, I love Paizo, I love Pathfinder a lot, but if you go search up Orc right now, if you go search up Orc even in 1 or 2 years from now, you know what you'll find? You're not going to find the licensing agreement. You're going to find hot green-skinned anime babes. Damn! The word itself, Orc, is not as searchable as OGL. For one, open gaming license. You search up OGL, you'll find OGL. But Orc alone is difficult to really search up and like learn more information about. So, aside from this, there's a number of problems kind of surrounding Paizo, not Paizo itself, but the idea that the ORC, can really replace the OGL. Let's be honest, like, there are already open gaming licenses. There's at least like 2 other than the Wizard of the Coast ones, but we didn't jump them. It's freegamingnet.com or something. But the biggest problem with just adding one more open gaming license is very well said in this XKCD comic situation. There are 14 competing standards. 14? Ridiculous. We need to develop one universal standard that covers everyone else's use cases. Yeah! Soon, there are now 15 competing standards. Adding one more open gaming license, one more license for people to have free creation of games and content, doesn't really fix the problems that are currently existing out of the OGL 1.1. It puts that power in the hands of other people, in the hands of Paizo, in the hands of the other companies they're going to be working with, and maybe future creators in the future. But this really does, assuming Paizo stays very ethical, like it won't cause any problems. But if it doesn't, if a larger company ends up buying them out, what this does is punts the problem 10, 20 years in the future for future people to deal with. When, you know what? That sounds pretty great. I don't want to deal with this stuff right now. But we can't just let that be the only case. I believe in Paizo. I think they'll stay fairly ethical. But again, this doesn't solve the problems of Wizards of the Coast upending 1.0a. It doesn't stop Wizards of the Coast creating a 1.1 where they still might try to screw you over somehow. This doesn't stop the fan content policy preventing you from having videos behind paywalls. Did you know that's part of the fan content policy of D&D? If you read it, it has to be free. It cannot be paywalled. It cannot be on Patreon. Early access doesn't count. Early watching doesn't count. You can't have it behind member onlys in YouTube. That's just a random thing I'm just talking about. But Wizards of the Coast is still going to be screwy, even if Paizo makes their ORC. Another thing is that the ORC, an open gaming license, these things, they only really serve to help developers and creators, which is good. It is very good, but it doesn't really change everything for the greater gaming landscape. It doesn't help players deal with it. It's designed to help creators. I get it. But still, upending the OGL will cause damage to players, where adding a new ORC helps developers and creators, but doesn't really do much for the players unless there's something they can add to that. I don't know. The hardest part to take about this for me is that I really like Pathfinder, but you stay within the control of Dungeons & Dragons and their D20 system. Something I call the D&D box. So, me pull this up. Yeah, I do all these in one take, by the way. One thing that happened really early on with Dungeons and Dragons, when the 4E debacle occurred, people moved over to Pathfinder because, hey, guess what? 4E was bad. 4E was really restrictive. It's doing all the things they wanted to do with his next edition of D&D, with his weird like gaming license. Bad stuff happened. So people moved to Pathfinder. But then why did they go back to 5E? Because the more people learn about Pathfinder, the more people learned about the alternative they were moving away from. They were learning about Dungeons and Dragons, because Pathfinder is super close to D&D. You will always be compared to it. Despite people escaping to 4E, going to 4E, people escaping to Pathfinder, people and moving on to Pathfinder and second and their PF2, great. But people still move on to 5E. And if we're going to be assuming that this pattern might occur again, yes, 6E might be a flop. It just might be. But also, that gives Wizards of the Coast one more generation of additions to say, we're going to fix this, we're going to be good, and there's going to be a whole slew of new players and developers that'll be like, no, they're not so bad. We heard about the 4E thing, well, we got over it. We heard about the 6E thing, we got over it. Let's try it for 7th edition. You never truly leave this D&D box. Whether you play OSR games, Old School Revolution, whether you play any like D&D likes since 2000, you will always be dealing with the box. And as long as we stay in this box, we're trapped to be promoting Dungeons and Dragons by the very system and engines we play. Alternatives could be, say, playing Powered by the Apocalypse, playing games that don't use D20 systems, because those things can develop and not necessarily drive things towards Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, Dungeons and Dragons. These are developments we can take to like really fix things. This theory of staying in the box comes with something called the network of externalities theory. And I will go over that more in my next video, literally right after this one. So if you want to hear more about that, like, comment, subscribe. Hey, look, call the action, CDA, like, comment, subscription. Anyways, I hope this was informative. Little thing. I plan to make a new series moving forward. After I do some more OGL rants, I plan to make a new series called, where is it? Post D&D. Things you can choose, new games to play, new systems you can learn about and create, as well as some theory of how we can finally escape this box. Bye.